Hey everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Stories. This time, as you may tell, it is a little bit different. We have switched things up and we went back to the classics. So, obviously, we're back with horror stories, and I really wanted to do this kind of episode, at least eventually, and I finally got to do it. And the thing is, this is going to be a special one. Not just because it's a horror one, but because it has an actual horror gameplay. So as you can see right now, it is Outlast gameplay. And yes, I played on my own. I played in the dark and I had nobody next to me, nobody to tell me it's going to be okay, nobody to hold my hand, just me, myself, and I in the darkness. And I must say, that was horrible. It was genuinely horrible. And throughout this video, actually, when I get scared, you will be able to hear it. So, yes, I left my reactions still in the video. So, I hope you enjoy this video. I genuinely do hope so because it was a scary one to make. And low key, I don't want to do it again. But at the same time, if you will like this video, if you will enjoy it, then I'll make a continuation with the same gameplay. As in, I will continue the same save and I'll read different stories. So, yes, without further ado, enjoy the stories. Story number 1. My stalker ended up killing 2 girls. This story happened in Ohio in the 80s. I was a teenager long before cell phones existed, living with my parents near Columbus. I don't know when the first time he saw me was, but the first time I saw him was through our kitchen window. We had a pop-out greenhouse window, and it was late at night. I was getting a glass of water. All the lights were off, and I happened to look outside and saw a figure of a man outside of the window. I froze and just went back into my room because I was so scared, acting like nothing had happened. It may seem crazy I didn't do more, but this was not the first time that I felt someone watching me. For weeks before that, I knew someone was outside of my bedroom window. We lived in a one-story house that backed up to the park, so anyone could go past the back of my house to the main street. It wasn't unusual for people to be around. For weeks late at night, I would wake up with the strongest sense of someone watching me. It was summer, so the window was open, but I had blinds blocking my view from the outside and a screen to keep out bugs. After a few times of waking up like this, I started to hear someone touching the screen, like running their fingernails across the mesh. This happened 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes I would get the courage to run to my parents' room, but by the time we went back, he was never there. They didn't really believe me either. This became an almost nightly thing, and I knew I wasn't imagining it, so when I saw him outside the window, it was almost a relief because I saw he was real and I wasn't imagining it. This went on for months, until it finally started to snow, and then there were footprints visible outside my window, so my parents at least acknowledged he was real, but didn't really do much. Remember, this was in the 80s. Then it all came to a head when I was home alone with a couple of friends getting ready to go out. My parents were away at dinner, so we had the house to ourselves. The blinds were up on one of the bedroom windows, and as I turned around, there he was standing directly in the window staring at us. He was a scary looking guy with bright orange dyed hair. This time I screamed, along with my friends. We ran into the bathroom, which didn't have any outside windows, and I finally got up the courage to run to the kitchen to call 911. The police came at about the same time my parents got home, but there was no sign of the guy. The police basically accused my friends and I of drinking and making the whole thing up. A few weeks later, I happened to see a newspaper and stopped dead in my tracks. There was a picture of the guy on the front page. He had attacked 2 girls in a gas station and ended up killing them. The police had shot and killed him when they were trying to detain him. Honestly, I can't remember all the details and haven't been able to find the article since. I remember feeling shocked and relieved that he wasn't coming back. So guy with the dyed orange hair, let's not meet. Story number 2. We saw something we weren't supposed to see. I'm posting here to make sure that this is recorded at least somewhere in case anything happens. I will go into only the required amount of details of the environment per stated in rules. Was driving out of Nowhereville for spring break at 1 to 3 a.m. with a friend named Jeb and had to stop for utilities just off the highway. Let's just say that this stop was far from any type of civilization, which I will get to. Gas station was closed. We decided to go in the bushes. For context, it was in the middle of a severe thunderstorm. Felt like driving through a constant car wash. As we are relieving ourselves,
Hey, can you see that giant rock poking through those woods at the hill? Yeah, I can. Just barely, though. Look on top of it.
There was barely visible outline of a person standing on top of the rock. You could tell that they were trying their best to stand perfectly still, yet also having a staring contest with us. It was clear that they weren't wearing any sort of attire for the rain. Of course, we sprint back to the car.
I think it was a girl, but it's so hard to see in this rain.
Car beats some rando without a car 9 out of 10 times, so let's find out. We pull out and were able to angle the car so that the brides could point at the rock. We knew it made little difference in the storm, but tried anyway. The brides barely revealed two grown men working together to both drag something large and appear to be digging behind the rock from our view. Both were in completely blacked out clothes. We could tell they were definitely okay with getting soaked. What sent chills down our spine was that for the split second they looked back at our lights. Both were wearing what appeared to be Halloween masks, or at least something covering their faces that looked like it could have been dark painted hockey masks, before they were able to drag the large trash bag looking thing fully behind the rock. Words cannot describe how fast I got back onto that highway. There were no other cars in the area, and we could tell that the woods were isolated to just a patch beside the highway. Still not sure what it was that we saw, but the conditions lined up perfectly to be no witnesses. I couldn't come up with a logical reason for this, so I hoped others here might have. Story number 3. Babyface man with a criminal record. This happened a couple of years ago. 26FI lived in the suburb of a big city and was visiting my boyfriend's office at the time. When we pulled into the small lot, there was a young man who appeared to be 16 to 27 years old, with a small backpack and penny board, standing under the shade outside. Since it was fairly small complex, you didn't see new people often. We caught eyes, and something about his gaze was unsettling, but my boyfriend and I continued walking into his office. We talked about it briefly when we got in, and he said maybe he was avoiding the sun, made light of it, and then we left back out to get coffee. When we came back about 15 to 20 minutes later, I wholeheartedly expected him to be gone because when we pulled up, I didn't see him. Honestly, I was very relieved. However, when I walked through the front door, there he was again. This time, sort of crouched, hiding behind what was the front door of the office, a fully see-through plexiglass door. So it was understandably an odd place to hide behind, because anyone passing by could see him. And when I rediscovered him, I screamed and sort of visibly jumped because I have trauma, and to be honest, he scared me. Something about his face when I screamed really creeped me out, and it felt like he wanted to scare me, or someone who passed by on purpose, almost like a twinkle in his eye. I started to get really creeped out by now, but I wasn't fully convinced it was all in my own head because my boyfriend was minimizing it. I decided to test a theory. I was also deadly hungover, so don't judge my critical thinking here. When my boyfriend and I got back to his office, I knew I would have to pee because I have a small bladder. I knew unfortunately the crazy guy who saw me go with him to his office would see because the hallway isn't that long. If he really was crazy, he would follow me and my boyfriend would see it, and that would be the end of it. Or so I thought. Plus, I always have to pee anyway, so there was really no other option. So I let my boyfriend know I have to pee. I tell him to keep the office door open and to keep an eye out. I explain my concern and then I run to the bathroom. As soon as I get into the bathroom and bolt the lock and plop onto the toilet, I get the weirdest sinking feeling I've ever felt to this day. I suddenly just know that when I finish using the bathroom, I will have to run out of this restroom for my life. I have no idea how I know this, but I just know. I also have a secondary thought as I'm finishing up, that I'm going to have to call the police on this man afterwards. And I don't know why, because I really haven't heard anything outside the door, but I can feel 1. Run to safety, then 2. Call 911. So I mentally prepare. I take some deep breaths, and then I swing the door open, and he's right goddamn there. And I scream bloody murder to the point that I think I scared him because he jumped back and I booked it. The look on his eyes when I first opened the door, pre-scream however, told me that he was planning to push me back into the restroom and then lock the door. If I hadn't been paying attention, I think that's what his plan was. Obviously I can't be sure, but I don't know, I've been assaulted before, and there's a certain look that those kind of people get in their eyes. Their eyes turn all black. I run, and run, all the while screaming, to my boyfriend's office and swing the door closed and lock it and tell him to call 911. He doesn't believe me, and neither do the officers, until they finally arrive and they see the man is still hunched behind the glass door at the front. He didn't even leave the scene, just stayed there waiting. The police said he had a warrant for his arrest, specifically for something sexual assault related, so they took him away. I chewed my then boyfriend out for months because how did he miss that? And also, not believing me? And to the violent sexual offender who likely tried to push me into the bathroom to do God knows what, let's not ever meet again. Story number 4. The last thing you would want to see out of your window at 1 a.m. while you're alone at home. This happened to me a few years ago while I was still in college, but I've been watching a ton of those narrated true stories on YouTube and felt compelled to share my own experience. For some context, I'm Irish and was studying in the UK to get my bachelor's degree. I don't know how common this is elsewhere, but where I lived, it seemed to be common enough that landlords renting to students privately would convert the front downstairs room into an extra bedroom. This is where my bedroom was for my first year. I didn't mind it too much, but it was a bit weird having the front door directly in my room, and especially since for those who aren't familiar with terraced houses in the UK, there isn't a front garden usually, and we just had a small section separating the front door from the path outside. By now, I had been living here for a few months, and I could recognize the difference in the sound of someone walking past on the path and the sound of someone stepping towards the front door. On the night that this happened, I was totally alone in the house as both of my housemates were away home for the weekend. This was a little unusual since neither of them usually went home except for special occasions, but I think it might have been Valentine's Day around that time, or something similar. It was about 1 in the morning, and I was laying in bed on the phone with my boyfriend at the time, as we were long distance. As we were talking, I could hear some footsteps outside, and immediately recognized that it was someone right outside the door. I kept listening and could just hear them shuffling around a bit, and then they started fumbling with the door handle. That spooked me, and I told my boyfriend that I was going to have a quick look out the window to see if I could spot whoever it was. I get up and part the curtains, and quite literally press my face and hands against the window to get a look outside. Since it was pitch black by now, and the streetlights had been turned off, it took a second then for me to realize what I was looking at. But whoever it was who was outside was doing exact same thing that I was, pressed up against the window and staring in at me inches away. I didn't scream, I just felt as if all the wind has been knocked out of me, and I remember feeling like someone had just dunked me into a pool of ice water. Whoever it was looked to be male. I couldn't see his face properly, but I just remember he was wearing a hoodie. He ran when he saw me, and after trying to collect myself, I quickly told my boyfriend and then rang the police. I don't remember how long it took for them to get there, but there wasn't a whole lot they could do. I think they might have done a quick patrol of the area, but nothing ever came of it. It was absolutely one of the most terrifying things that's happened to me, and I can't figure out at all why he was trying to break in. At the time, I had my lights on, which would have been visible from the window even with the curtains drawn, so I figured I could rule out that he was a junkie or squatter looking for a place to crash. I don't know if maybe he had been watching me and my housemates for a while, seeing 3 girls living alone, and thought maybe this would make an easy burglary or worse. But thank God I didn't have any trouble again afterwards. I couldn't sleep for days after. I remember staying up until the early morning, just watched movies on my laptop to feel less alone until I eventually fell asleep from exhaustion once it started to get light outside. Since I was here from Ireland, I didn't even have any family members close by who I could call for or go in and stay with, and it was the most agonizingly long weekend of my life waiting for my housemates to come back. I definitely think I've developed a slight phobia now of looking out the window while it's dark outside. Well, that is it. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the stories. I hope you enjoyed the video and also the reactions that you could hear. And just generally, I hope you had a great time. And if you did, please like this video, consider subscribing, and of course, let me know in the comments as well. Tell me your opinion on the stories, tell me your opinion on this video, if you like it, if you want to see more of this. If you do, I will make more. If you don't, then I will not. If you don't want to see this, I won't make it. So yeah, nonetheless, also, check the description. There you can find the Google form where you can submit any kind of stories you want, whatever that is, or just suggestions in general. And as always, I hope you have an amazing time and an amazing day or week, whatever that is. And it's going to be fun. Whatever you're going through, if you're going through, it's going to be fine. And as per usual, much love.